Hello and welcome to today's SCORE webinar, Make the Internet Work for You, Internet Marketing Strategies. This webinar is being presented by Carrie Baskin, who is the founder of the Marketing Department. I would like to thank you, Carrie, for sharing this important information and trust all of our viewers will find it helpful and informative.
Thank you for having me.
My name is Leslie Swope, and I am a volunteer with SCORE of Chester and Delaware counties. SCORE is a nonprofit organization that has been in existence for over 50 years and is a resource partner of the SBA. SCORE's mission is to foster a strong small business community by providing free mentorship and business education. We are here to support you and help you grow your business. Here in Chester and Delaware counties, we have 100 volunteers ready to help. Our mentoring and most of our educational programs such as this are free. You will find many tools, templates, and other business resources on our website resource library. Next slide. Make the Internet Work for You is a recorded webinar and will be made available to you after today's session. You have all been placed on mute so we avoid any distractions. Carrie will address your questions in the Q&A box during and after today's presentation. Please use the Q&A box for questions. Use the chat if you have a comment or resource to share. Now I'd like to introduce our presenter, Carrie Baskin. Carrie Baskin has more than 30 years in marketing, working for companies such as Honeywell and M&M Mars, in addition to local technology companies where he developed and launched many hardware, software, and service products in North America, Europe, Southeast Asia, and Japan. In 2011, Carrie started the Marketing Department, a website, SEO, and digital marketing agency located in Malvern, PA, founded on the idea of bringing Madison Avenue to Main Street with affordable marketing solutions for small businesses. The Marketing Department helps clients build their brand, target their ideal customer, and generate leads to the internet. He's a frequent SCORE presenter on search engine optimization, website development, and internet marketing. Now I'll turn it over to you, Carrie.
Well, thank you very much, Leslie. I'm going to stop my video so I don't distract the presentation. And it is an honor to be here today. I look forward to sharing lots of ideas and strategies with you. Today's presentation will cover a couple of different things. We'll start out with a brief introduction about internet marketing, and then we'll move into 6 core strategies that primarily focus on website traffic development and lead generation. Then we'll talk a little bit about compliance in internet marketing, oftentimes overlooked topic. And no presentation about the internet today would be worth anything if we didn't spend a little time talking about the artificial intelligence craze that's kind of going on all around us and kind of changing the way things are working. Then we'll summarize the presentation and then continue with some Q&A after that. So what is internet marketing? Primarily, it's any process or activity that helps promote your brand or business online. Most of the time, it's for brand awareness or lead or sales or engagement. But most of the clients that come to us and talk about it almost always have 2 core goals in mind when they think about internet marketing: is driving more traffic to their website and generating more leads once they get them to the website. And most of the time, most of the investment that's required to do that on the internet is what's driving most of the decision processes. We'll talk about these, all of these in some fashion throughout the presentation. So the first question is, does internet marketing work? Because it's not free. It takes money to invest in. And primarily, it does if the marketing budget supports the goals to meet the expectation. And what I mean by that is sometimes you see an idea, hey, I'm going to do something on Facebook, or I'm going to do some Google ads or some other internet marketing strategy. And if it's not funded correctly, then it won't meet the expectation, right? So you have to make sure that the budget that you're putting together meets it has the ability to support the goal to meet the expectation. And if it's underfunded, it will likely not work. Another aspect of does internet marketing work is well, you have to make sure you know who your customer is and where they're spending their time on the internet so that you invest in the right channel. And we'll talk about channel strategy a little further in the presentation. Next is the quantity of converted leads support the budget. So we talk about making sure that the budget supports the goals, but if the value of that lead and the cost to get that lead is disproportionately large for the revenue that you're going to get or the profit that you're going to generate, then it will not be a good strategy to use. So the quantity of converted leads needs to be supported by the budget, and that is ultimately those leads have to support the profitability that you're striving for. And then it works if you don't think of the internet as just sort of this narrow singular thing, but have a kind of a broad-based strategy that supports the buyer's journey, and in what is often referred to as omni-channel, or in this case, meaning more than one way of looking at the internet, both online and offline, because there are offline strategies that we'll talk about that you can do, things that are not specifically on the internet, but do drive internet interactions. And we'll talk a little bit about that as well. And then you can differentiate. So the internet marketing is still marketing, and regardless of where and how you're doing your marketing, you still have to have a unique selling proposition that will resonate with your target audience. And if you don't, you could be spending a lot of money and not really generating any significant benefit from it if the unique selling proposition or the problem that you're solving, the solution that you're offering, doesn't connect with the reader or the recipient of that internet strategy. And you have to have a plan that's driven by research and buyer persona. So just saying, hey, I'm going to throw an ad up on Facebook is not a good strategy. You really have to know and understand what your buyer persona is, their behavior, where they spend time, what their interests are, and really have some research-driven strategy here in your plan for it to work. And finally, you have to be patient. The internet marketing takes time to reach success, and it's an iterative process, oftentimes driven by the data that you're seeing from the results of what you're doing. And then you have to optimize, tweak, and refine your strategies until you get it really finely tuned so that you're getting the maximum return on your investment. So internet marketing can work, but these 6 considerations need to be thought about as part of your marketing plan strategy. So what type of businesses can benefit from this? Well, it can help most businesses grow if the acquisition cost, the cost of the lead, is in line with the lifetime sale value or profit. And that goes back to the first bullet on the previous slide, where you have to make sure that the money that you're spending, the budget that you're going to contribute or commit to this strategy set, has some lifetime value, and therefore can give you a return on your investment. If your business cost per lead is really, really high, and the lifetime value of that lead or that sale is not very high, then it's not the best way to grow your business. And oftentimes the best solutions, the best way of utilizing internet marketing is to increase your website traffic, generate more leads, generate more online reviews, which we'll talk about, and building brand awareness through your unique selling proposition. So what platforms does your ideal customer spend time on is one of the most important questions that you have to address when you're thinking about your internet marketing. So there are various different platforms that are out there. The obvious ones are the social networks like Facebook and Pinterest, LinkedIn, etc. There are ad display networks where you can advertise what you're doing. And there are ad display networks that are dedicated to mobile devices. There are community bulletin boards that are available. There are shopping networks, depending if you're actually doing a physical product sale. There are search engines where you can generate strategies that will drive traffic to your website through the search engines. And then there are industry-specific directories that could support lead generation and traffic as well. So understanding where your customer is hanging out and fine-tuning your strategy around these channels is critical to your success. And this goes back to understanding your ideal customer. What age are they in? What are they, boomers? Are they millennials? Are they senior citizens? What content do they tend to migrate to when they're online and doing whatever they do online? And what strategies? Is it local? Is it organic? Is it based through e-commerce? And what are advantages of each of these platforms based on the particular demographic and audience that you're trying to target through? So you have to choose your channel, and then you have to choose which channel, which platform you want to work on, and then within the platform, what channel you actually want to focus on, where your target audience is spending time and money. So before we jump into the 6 core strategies that I want to dive into in a little bit more detail, I can pause right now if there are, Leslie, any questions in the Q&A box.
I don't see anyone. Does anyone have any questions at this time? I don't see any.
Okay, fine. Well, we'll move on and we'll have some Q&A near the end as well for additional opportunities. So we're going to talk about 6 different core strategies that are critical to success with an internet marketing plan. Citation, social media, getting personal, advertise, optimize, and content. So the first of them is putting your business on the business profiles. So all of the major search engines like Yahoo, Bing, and Google, which is Google being the most important, give you the opportunity to list your business and create a business profile. And this is an important aspect of getting recognized and getting your website recognized and getting your business recognized. And on these business profiles, you get to put your address, your phone numbers, your contact information. You can post bulletins and content and notices of articles that you've written on blogs and get people to drive to your website. You can have people give you reviews. You can put your hours of operation. So there's a lot of information that you can put on there. And usually when you create these business profiles, you then qualify to be on the Google Maps if your business has a physical address where people can come to. But getting yourself listed on Google by in and of itself is not the end game of your directory listings. Google, when they look at search results, if someone searches for a business near me, say a painter near me or a restaurant near me, Google is also looking at what they call data aggregated or directory listings or they're looking for citations or directory listings that call out your business. And it's just not that these directory listings exist, is that they're accurate, because Google is looking across the ecosystem of all these hundreds or thousands of directories and saying, well, is their phone number what they say it is? Is their street address what they say it is? Is their business category consistent across the ecosystem of the internet? So they're looking for this kind of raw data to make a decision of whether or not to put your business as a response to a local search for anything. And there are what they call data aggregators out there, which have these larger circles. And many of the many thousands of other directories look to these data aggregators to propagate the information across the internet. And the Google Business Profile, so it's just one data point that Google is looking at in a local search result. So Google is aggregating all this data and looking for citation accuracy. So you, as the business owner, really want to make sure, to the extent possible, that the ecosystem of data about your business is consistent across the ecosystem. And there are some tools that are available to do that. One of them is called Moz Local, another one is WhiteSpark, another one is Bright Local. And these are software platforms that allow you to put your business into beyond the main Google list listing, and have your information propagated across the internet. Strategy number 2 is to use social media to drive engagement. I don't think I'm going to be telling anybody anything new. If you've been around social media for a while, you know it's out there. It's part of one of the 6 things that every business should be utilizing. Putting content on there for engagement. Use bullet lists because they make it easy to read. Use relevant hashtags. Every social media platform allows hashtags, but they all allow a different quantity of them. So you have to know the platform that you're on to leverage their best use. If you have an influencer who is following you, then tag them and say, hey, I just posted some of your content on our social site. Thank you for very much. Wanted to let you know that it's there. You want to give people compelling reasons to click on website links on your social sites. And you want to encourage people to like, share, and follow what you're doing. The minimum recommendation used to be about 3 times a week on Facebook or Instagram, if you're using one of those 2 platforms. TikTok, on the other hand, requires about 3 postings a day. So it's a pretty significant investment if you want to go down the road of TikTok. So that's a business decision of whether or not you have the resources to do that effectively. Best way to think about social media is to think of it as a distribution network to promote your website content. And that seems to get the most bang for your buck, because content is what is driving most people's reason for being around lead generation strategies. So putting content on your social platforms that help people click on links that see content and information that is relevant to them is a great strategy to utilize. And it can be done fairly inexpensively. One strategy to look at it from a life cycle of a strategy is to start with a YouTube video, add that video to your website as a blog post, transcribe the video script into copy for the blog post, then post a blog announcement with a link to the blog page on your social sites, however many you're using, and then post a Google Business Profile, and then submit these articles on a widely read social or news platforms like Medium or Quora or Answer.com. So that's a great way to look at this from a kind of a big picture point of view of the best way to approach something like this. You can also join social media groups. Most of these platforms have groups that you can get involved with and follow and share your expertise on. You can monitor and contribute to conversations on your ideal customers having by social listening tools. Some are free, like Google Alerts, some are paid for. And you can pay influencers to promote your business or your product on their social media sites. Very costly and very expensive. So you have to have the budget to support that if that's the strategy you want to pursue. Strategy number 3 is trying to building relationships online. And I think of that as kind of getting personal. So you can interact with your social media followers by replying to their comments, reposting content on social sites, and tagging them to notify that person that you have mentioned them or referred to them in a post or a photo. You can reply to ideal customers looking for answers online with knowledge platforms like Reddit, Answer, and Quora. You can ask clients for online reviews. To me, this is one of the more important takeaways here, because people do look at reviews when making decisions about what vendors they want to work with. So you want to ask your clients to give you reviews, and even ask vendors to give you reviews. 90% of the prospects will visit your website before calling. So put some of these client reviews and such on the website as well. And another good strategy that I found works really, really well is build a vendor referral network. So find vendors that you work with that are in non-competing businesses, but serving your ideal customer, and strike a business deal or a relationship with them and cross leads with them. Another element of getting personal is using email. Email is a very personal form of communication. Build an email list. You can do it by generating leads from your website when you do webinars or podcasts or in-person networking, which I know is something that got compromised during the pandemic. And you can do it through advertising. You can email out promotions, newsletters, helpful quality content, monthly or quarterly newsletters. It's fine. There are several brands of software out there that you can utilize to put very professional face on your email marketing that are easy to use, that offer template building options and such. Just be careful of the price. Knowing the size of your email list will definitely affect the cost of your that you pay per month to use these platforms. Some of them offer some free for a relatively small number of leads, email names to get started and learn the platform and experiment with it before you commit heavily to a particular subscription. The real advantage to email marketing is it's low cost and generally has a pretty high ROI. As long as what you're doing is got a good customer focus and that you're mailing to really your target audience. Otherwise, you'll get a lot of unsubscribed requests. And the unsubscribed requests are being monitored by the platform. And if that number gets really, really high, they'll think you're spamming. So you don't want that. So you really want to make sure that you're targeting your email list for people that are really going to be interested. And buyer interest and thirst of knowledge for their knowledge. What do they want to know with these emails? So it's not a random thing. It has to be thoughtful. Strategy number 4 is advertising. That's obvious. There are numerous ways to advertise online with shopping ads if you have a physical product, remarketing ads. If Google or the search engine that you're working with realizes that you're out shopping for sneakers online, it can present you with ads that are related to that. And the search engine uses a lot of artificial intelligence to figure this out. So using remarketing ads are very inexpensive and they keep your brand top of mind awareness. So it's a good brand building strategy. Even if they're not buying the sneakers from you, it's still a way to get your brand in front of them. You can do display ads on any one of the display networks, whether they're video or physical display ads or on mobile display ad networks, etc. There's lots of different places where you can put these ads. You can do pay-per-click ads on social media, on the search engines as well. And you can do pre-roll video ads on YouTube, on Effective. Effective basically is the back-end platform for getting videos on your Verizon or Xfinity Comcast client display networks. And the recommendation is to also design the videos where the text is running across the screen and that the audio is turned off. That's pretty common and is a very effective way. Most people will turn off the audio oftentimes on video ads. So this is make sure that they get to see the messaging. And the final point of message here is to make sure that when you run ads on the internet, that you don't take them to the home page to your website. You take them to a landing page that deals specifically with what the focus of the ad is all about. It helps with attribution so that you can figure out the return on investment, but it also helps the viewer to experience more closely exactly what you are advertising with a page that's dedicated to what the ad is all about. You will get much better performance with the ad and a higher probability of that ad converting to a lead if you take that approach. Strategy number 5 is actually optimizing your website, which involves technical SEO, what website structure, technologies that ease in understanding and use for search engines. There's a very sophisticated approach to making sure the back end of your website is search engine friendly. Some platforms, some website development platforms make this easier than others. So not all website backends are created equal in that regard. But they all need to be optimized for the search engine so that the search engine can optimally index the pages where the content is being utilized to attract your customers. You have to make sure that your keyword management is optimized. And I recommend that you think in terms of long tail searches, meaning that the blog or the content structure or the headline on the page is not a two-word thing, but a carefully thought out 4 or 5 words that explicitly expresses what content this is all about. Because a long tail search, which is a string of characters or a string of words that people are actually searching. Most people don't search for used cars. They will search for used cars from a Volvo dealership located in Malvern, Pennsylvania. That's a long tail search. So if you're a Volvo dealership and you were in serving Malvern, you want to have text on the headline that actually says that you sell Volvos from Malvern, Pennsylvania, right? That's the way that you manage that. And then consistent use of the title tag, which is a search engine optimization element, and the headline match the copy on the page. So there's consistency of the keywords across all the structure of the website page itself. And backlink. So backlink means that your website URL, mycompanyname.com, appears on someone else's website as a link back to your website. Google treats and thinks of these backlinks as votes. The more backlinks you have on the internet, in other words, the more times your website is mentioned on other websites, then Google says, this site is popular. It has meaningful content that other people are linking back to. And that is the best way to create what's called domain authority, which is a ranking system, not a Google ranking system. It's actually a Moz, a score developed by a company called Moz, Moz.com, which measures the probability or likelihood that your website will come up ranking highly in the search result for a given search term or a keyword search. And the more backlinks you have, the higher the probability it is. And the process of getting these backlinks is somewhat sophisticated and complicated. But website optimization has, generally speaking, a very high return on investment. But it takes time and a budget to do this. And when I mean time, I don't mean weeks, I mean months, sometimes a year or more of sophisticated, comprehensive content creation and backlink development. First, you have to have the content before you get the backlinks. So you have to develop the content first and then reach out to other likelihood sites where you could find someone who would likely put your website link on their website and backlink for you. So content 6 also involves the strategy of creating content. Content has to be unique, original, and robustly demonstrate your expertise in the subject matter that that page on the website is dealing with. It helps build trust. It differentiates you from the competition. The content needs to be focused on your target audience. It has to satisfy the informational needs of the buyer's journey to make a decision to buy from you. In the parlance of the buyer's journey, there's something called the top of the sales funnel, the middle of the sales funnel, and the bottom of the sales funnel. The top of the sales funnel deals with basic content like 7 things to consider when buying kitchen cabinets. It's available on the website. It doesn't require an email to view and see that information. The middle of the sales funnel is where you give a very comprehensive, rich piece of content that you exchange someone's email for in order to see the content. So keep the theme of the kitchen cabinets. 7 things to consider when buying kitchen cabinets might be a top of the funnel thing. Middle of the sales funnel would be something like a kitchen design guide handbook, right? So it's an ebook that has, a few thousand words that gives people detailed planning instructions on how to plan a new kitchen cabinet design. And that kind of rich content, you can oftentimes get someone to exchange their email, and now you have a lead. The bottom of the sales funnel is the thing that pulls them over and gets them to call you. So something like a free estimate, free consultation, 20% discount on the first cabinet that you buy, something like that. And when you're writing content, you're really writing for the customer, your ideal customer, not the search engine. The search engine will figure out that this content is rich and robust and demonstrates your expertise. So you don't have to worry about that. The search engine's artificial intelligence algorithm is incredibly smart. In fact, it's so smart that it can determine whether or not you plagiarized that content from someone else. And if you do that, obviously the search engines will basically bypass your content. It will not take it into consideration, will not deliver it in search results. And then the idea is to frequently, continuously add new content on your website to drive high quality traffic. Google search engines will send out what they call bots, which was little robots that go out online and visit the website, see what's on the website, copy that content and put it into their proprietary database. Google's index is a proprietary database. So when Google and Bing are 2 completely different search engines, they are competitors. They have their own software algorithms, their own index where they're capturing the information from your website. So the idea here is to frequently post, because the more frequently you post, every time the search engine goes out and looks at your website, it might start out looking at it once every 3 months. Then it might say, well, every time I come to this website, I see new content. So it'll start shrinking the time between the time that it goes out and looks at your website. So the more frequently you post, the more likely it is that the search engine will come back and index that content sooner than later. And then this content needs to be a resource for people who are searching for your kind of product or service. Without the content, you can't really generate backlinks by getting people on other websites to point back to your website. So backlinks from relevant, high quality sources is the key to improving your website's authority on the internet. Google has a thing called PageRank. Moz has a thing called domain authority. They're not exactly the same thing, but they represent the same concept. Robust informational content will improve that domain authority if you can get other people to point to it. So how do you get a backlink? Well, first you need to create a list of potential websites that might link to you. You can study your competition. There are tools that you can use that will give you reports of what content is being backlinked from your competitor sites, tools like Ahrefs Checker and Link Explorer. So you can see what kind of content are on these websites, see what kind of information these potential websites that you can link from are interested in, then develop content that's based on that, targeting these backlink audiences, and then contact the website owner or publisher and offer your content. You can outsource this kind of research for linking opportunities. There are firms out there, I get them all the time. We can put your content on 500 of our different publishers that we have contacts with. And that is considered by the search engine as spammy, black hat kind of way of syndicating your content. The only way that you want to syndicate your content is find one potential website that will take one particular piece of content and backlink to it. And if you want to do a different piece of content on a different website, then create a new piece of content. So the idea is one piece of content to one backlink source provider, not trying to get the same piece of content that pushed out on 100 different websites. That's not going to do you any good. There are link building service providers that do follow what's called white hat strategies, not the black hat kind. And they charge a fee for it. They'll even create the content for you. And they're reputable and can be used. I know half a dozen that are out there. Page One Power is one example, but there are several that you could consider. And then there are keyword tools that you can use, like SpyFu and Ubersuggest. And then if you have Google Analytics installed on your website, you can use something called the Google Search Console, which is part of your Google Analytics backend, which will actually tell you what kind of search terms people are searching on to find your website. And then you can beef up your content based on that. You can also find, using these tools, you can find low competitive keywords your competitors are ranking for and write content around those strategies. Or you can find long tail, which we talked about, long tail search terms with low competitive rankings that are also that you can use as a strategy to create content for to help drive traffic to your website. Low competitive means that the search engine is not seeing a lot of other websites that are putting a lot of content on their websites for that specific long tail search terms. Associated with this strategy is the content itself, right? So you can use blogs and articles, videos. You can take a short form under 500 words. You can use long form articles over 1,500 words, newsletters to promote your content that you can email to people on your email list to tell them that you've been posting this content. You can create lists like process checklists, product options, best of research kind of information, provide data and insight through case studies, research results, or white papers, or how-to guides in terms of, driven by how you're solving problems and process solutions. So there's a wide array of content strategies that you could use on your website. And these can be professionally written or, written by yourself. And strategy number 7, which is not something you often see and think of as your internet marketing strategy, but the internet is actually a regulated environment. And Google does look to make sure, for example, does this website have a privacy policy on it? Are you using SSL certificates for safely communicating your online forms or your e-commerce? Do you have opt-ins for cookies and such? So Google is actually looking at that. And privacy policy in the US is driven by first the California Privacy Act. That was the first one in 2018, I believe. GDPR is General Data Protection Regulation, which is the European Union's privacy policy law. And even though you may not do business in the European Union, if someone comes to your website from the European Union and puts their email on your website because they wanted to download some content, and that's how you made it available, technically speaking, you are now collecting privacy information from someone who lives in the European Union and technically should be following their guidelines. Fortunately, the California Privacy Act and the GDPR law details are pretty similar. And if you follow what the California law is, you will be in pretty good shape. And there are now several states that have privacy acts and several more that are in process. Many of them are more focused on protecting privacy of basically children, people under 18. But others like California are the full privacy policy gamut for every aspect of your website. And actually goes beyond the website because it's privacy of every aspect of what you're doing on the internet. So if you have running an email campaign and have used that email to collect someone's privacy information, that email is also subject to these privacy acts, for example. And security deals with if someone fills out a form on your website and you've now collected an email or a phone number, technically speaking, you have information about that person. And when they fill out that form, you want to make sure that that information is not being able to be seen or stolen over the internet. So an SSL certificate encrypts that information and then sends it over the internet in a secure way, and then decodes it or unencrypts it on the receive side. And if you're doing any kind of e-commerce on your website, you must have an SSL certificate. And you have cookies. If you have Google Analytics installed on your website, well, then you are tracking things automatically. And you should have a cookie opt-in. So privacy policy is one thing. Terms of use for your website should also be something that you put on your website as a document, telling people basically what your liabilities are, what you're permitting people to do, that the information on your website is copyrighted, and that you have a privacy policy, and what state you're operating under the laws of, and that they're agreeing to the terms of use by just being on the website. The SSL certificate is something we just talked about, but basically, if you look at the browser bar and it'll say HTTP versus HTTPS, the S stands for Secure Network Protocol. It fits into the explanation of what I said, but it kind of fits into that privacy element, not just the protection of the data as it's being transferred. And then, is your website accessible? Accessible means that people who have various forms of disability, which could be visually impaired, hearing impaired, physically impaired, whether your website supports their ability to basically access and utilize and benefit from the information on your website. Roughly 30% of the population is a number I've heard thrown about, has some form of disability. So it's good business sense to support these things, but it's also a law in the United States. And there have been lawsuits filed against mostly bigger companies, but it is something to be considered, and it's the right thing to do. And there are basically two strategies that you can use. You can do it natively through the programming of the website, that the actual development of the website takes these elements into consideration, or you can subscribe to something called an overlay, which basically adds some programming code to your website that supports some of these functionality that you need to incorporate in your website to be compliant with the regulations. And the other thing is to keep in mind that this is all legal stuff. So you should actually consult your attorney, your business attorney, and ask them how they would recommend you stay compliant and be compliant with these various options. So it's not just working with your website developer, it's also taking into consideration that you are legally exposed if you fail to do some of these things correctly, and somebody decides to take you to court because of it. So now I want to talk about artificial intelligence. To some extent, Google and Bing and Microsoft, Bing is owned by Microsoft, and Bing actually owns the Yahoo platform too. So Yahoo and Bing is a Microsoft product. Both of those companies have been using artificial intelligence really for years in terms of the search engine structure and the search engine's ability to understand the queries that you're making. But several months ago, I guess back in January, it kind of got really public as to what this was all about with the introduction of something called ChatGPT, which is a brand, a platform of artificial intelligence. So out of curiosity, to prepare for this, I went to Chat GPT and I said, I asked it, what is AI? And it gave me this kind of somewhat sophisticated answer that it's a branch of computer science that aims to create intelligent machines that can learn, reason, and act like humans, which is kind of scary. AI involves the development of algorithms and models that enable computer systems to perceive the environment, process complex data inputs, and make decisions or take actions based on that information, with the ultimate goal to emulate human intelligence, including natural language processing, which I said, as I mentioned, Bing and Google have been doing for years, learning, problem solving, decision making, and perception. And that's sort of kind of a very high tech answer. But then I asked the ChatGPT, well, how do I explain AI to a 5-year-old? And this is what it said. It's like having a robot friend that can do really amazing things. Just like how you can learn and remember things, AI can do that too. It can also see and hear things just like we do, and then do something useful with that information. It's really smart. It can help make our lives easier and better. I think both of those definitions are an oversimplification of the ramification of how AI is going to really change technology and affect and influence our lives in ways that we can't even yet imagine. It's already impacted the website in a lot of different ways. And as I said, it's been around on the internet really through the search engines in a lot of different ways for a long time, but it's actually affecting us in ways we haven't even thought about. But it's here. For example, there are now diagnostic tools and have been diagnostic tools around, like some of them that I've mentioned in this presentation, that allow you to analyze your competitors, analyze websites, analyze the search engine, and technical analysis of site architecture. There are content generators like ChatGPT that can generate content. Caution though, use it as an idea generator, but don't say, write 300-word copy for my website page on whatever it is that you're selling, and then copy and paste that in there, because ChatGPT is drawing its knowledge base from what's been published on and produced on the internet. And remember what I said, Google's artificial intelligence algorithm is really, really smart and will pick up plagiarized content really, really rapidly, and can actually tell that content was generated by ChatGPT and other equivalent type solutions. But use it as a foundation for idea generation of what the content could be about, and then personalize it, modify it, rewrite it to make it yours, okay? But these content generators can help you get a running start on your articles, also on ad copy, and even email subject heading and copy for the emails. They can analyze website performance and personalize the content for target audiences. I think this is a big thing that's going to be coming in the future, even more so than what it is today. And it will help increase your conversion rates. And on the website development side, a high-level language for coding the website pages. To some extent, some of that is already here, but I think we're just at the beginning fringes of how effective that could be. There are AI tools that will generate graphics now, and even graphic design of a website page. To some extent, at least the hosting platform that we use for websites, it's already automated maintenance that we can incorporate in the hosting package if the client wants that feature. So AI is going to dramatically affect what's happening on the internet. Some of these things are already here. Some of these things that are here are going to get even better and more powerful down the road. So here's several takeaways. On internet marketing, an optimized website, rich and original content is the goal. Your website marketing strategy and internet marketing strategy needs a mix of online, offline, and personal strategies that we've discussed. Knowing, reaching, and connecting with your ideal customer is something that the business owner or the marketer needs to focus on. The flexibility and freedom to test every strategy to see what works, and use data to drive your decisions on your internet strategies. Proactively marketing strategies and management to ensure all of the different forms of marketing that you're doing, the implementation of these 6 different strategies that we talked about today, complement and coordinate with one another. If you're not looking at the big picture and thinking about holistically across these 6 strategies with a common theme and a common approach to what you're trying to achieve, it's going to be very hit and miss as to how effective it will be. Be compliant and be accessible, and then budget enough marketing to meet your goals and produce a compound value over time, which sort of goes back to the very first thing I talked about the budget. The budget really needs to be sufficient. If it's not, a little bit of this, a little bit of that is never going to really quite make it for you if you really want success. I guess with that, I'll pause for the Q&A. I invite anyone to reach out to me. I'm happy to give you a free hour consultation to go through what you're doing on the internet and offer ideas and suggestions for you as part of, and we do this for every client that walks in the door, even if they don't buy from us. That's quite fine. We're here to serve our community. So with that, Leslie, I'll open it up to questions.
Oh, here's a question.
Okay, go for it.
Just to thank you for a lot of terrific content.
Oh, well, thank you. I
Thank
appreciate
you.
that.
A lot of thank you. So yes. Okay. They said fabulous, great. So lots of good content. So I did just want to close it out. Thanks for all that great information, Carrie, and you will be receiving this recorded webinar. SCORE is here to help you with your next steps. Please reach out to your SCORE mentor. You're not alone in this process. If you aren't already working with the SCORE mentor, you can request one by going to our website link shown here, or by calling the phone number and speaking with our administrative person, Catherine Weisenberger, our office administrator.